celebrate by worshiping, expressing gratitude, good food, music, dancing, and maybe even a cigar. Because Mark and Mary believe that love begins and ends with God, let's start by acknowledging his presence here today. So would you join me in prayer? Father, we come to you with thanksgiving today. You have been present to Mark and Mary for 40 years. The gift of your love has overshadowed each and every event in their lives. Father, you have been there in the good times and in the bad, in sickness and in health. You were always making a way. This is a day when we want to worship. And we want to worship you, and we want to bless them. We would ask that you would shower them with joy as they celebrate their love with their wonderful family that has been birthed by this union and with these friends who have joined them along the way. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Peter's Vanessa are going to sit. Okay, Sarah and Raul first. Come on up.
Would you mind holding that up?
Could be Sarah and Elias.
This is an excerpt from The Irrational Season by Madeline Lane. There comes a moment when a decision must be made. Two people who love each other must ask themselves how much they hope for as their love grows and deepens, and how much risk they are willing to take. It is indeed a fearful gamble, because it is the nature of love to create. A marriage itself is something which has to be created, so that together we become a new creation. To marry is the biggest risk in human relations that a person can take. If we commit ourselves to one person for life, this is not, as many people think, a rejection of freedom. Rather, it demands the courage to move into all the risks of freedom and the risk of love, which is permanent, into that love which is not possession, but participation. It takes a lifetime to learn another person. And when love is not possession, but participation, then it is part of that co-creation, which is our human calling. Blessing on the next years.
Thanks, Sarah. Mark and Mary asked me to share a few words with you along the way today, and it comes in two parts. They came to Portland a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, and we sat down in a nice restaurant and spent about 2 hours, tied that table up for a while, and simply talked about what they wanted to have happen here today. And they said, Morris, would you talk about the past, the present, and the future in our marriage relationship? So I'd like to talk about the past and the present first on behalf of Mark and Mary. As we talked our way through the ceremony, they said regarding the past and the present, they said, well, let's talk about some experiences we've had where we have connected, but sometimes where we haven't, and how they have both worked together to shape our lives and enhance our marriage. We're always quick to say to a young couple that's getting married, we want to wish you happiness and success and fulfillment on this your wedding day. And no doubt Mark and Mary heard that 40 years ago. And so you have experienced happiness, and you have experienced fullness and fulfillment, and you have experienced success. You got what people wished. Mark and Mary have experienced so much connection the joy of raising a family, establishing a home, engaging in ministry. If we could look at their photo albums today, well, it would show connection, and connection would stand out as the dominant experience of your marriage relationship. We'd see pictures of Christmas and birthdays and vacations and sports and special events like graduations and weddings and births and so much, much more. It's been an incredible run for Mark and Mary. But Mark and Mary said, could we also be realists about life and marriage? And would you please talk about the fact that there are times of disconnection in married life too? Times that all start with the word D if we start going down the list. Disappointment and disillusionment and sometimes disagreement in marriage. They can remember times, they're laughing, they can remember times when the relationship fell thin and they had to lean into their vows to press on. We tend to hide the challenges of married life. But those of us who are married can remember days and weeks and maybe even months when we didn't feel any warmth or joy or a sense of connection. For sure, there are times when we hurt each other. As Mark and Mary stand in the present and look back, they want you to know that the richness of their love is not only grounded in times of orientation and happiness, but it's also grounded in the times of struggle and disconnection and journeying. There are times in our marriages when we feel like love has left us. The thought might even come to us about walking out. On the surface of our lives, we pondered for a moment, and yet we choose to press on. And Mark and Mary have done that. And as a result, they are mixing the joy and the sorrow, the times of connection and the times of disconnection, and they can see a tapestry of beauty in it all. By working their way through the rough patches, they have discovered an even deeper love and a type of joy they would never have known. I was recently on a hike with a friend. We walked 11 miles. Honestly, I hated the uphill grind of the hike, as we all do. And my friend was 20 years younger than me, so I wasn't going to complain. I was just going to do it. And I did. And so we plodded along, and I kept wondering if it would be worth it all. And as we crested over the last uphill stretch, we suddenly saw Mount Hood staring at us, along with the valleys, the sky, and the beauty of the Cascade Range. It was worth it all. And as we made our way down, we met someone who was pulling to the side to rest about 50 yards short of the view and the destination. And I said to her, you're almost there. Stick with it. I was worried she might quit. She looked like she might by the look on her face. I was worried she might quit when the destination was so close and the joy would be right there. Mark and Mary, you guys have worked your way up many mountains together, mountains that involve disconnection. But as they reached the top of each uphill challenge, they looked to each other and sensed deeper love and wonder. Today marks a peak experience, 40 years of traversing the highs and lows together, and the view is awesome. The past has enriched the present. They want you to know that everything belongs. The good times as well as the bad both play into the script of their marriage. They clearly see how God was central to this mystery, and He has become their reason for forgiving and forging the next chapter. Mark and Mary, your journey brings much joy to all of us today. Your faithfulness is a gift to your children, it's a gift to your grandchildren, and to all of the friends who are gathered here. Thank you for weathering all the seasons, the good times and the bad, and then asking us to enjoy the view you are experiencing today. I'm going to ask Peter and Vanessa. This time it's the double. Come on up.
do not hesitate to love and to love deeply.
You might be afraid of the pain that deep love can cause, but that should not hold you back from loving deeply.
The pain that comes from deep love can make your love ever more fruitful. It is like a plow that breaks the ground to allow the seed to take root and grow into a strong plant.
Every time you experience the pain that accompanies love, you are faced with a choice.
You can become bitter and decide not to love again,
Or you can stand straight in your pain and with the soil on which you stand become richer and more able to give life to new seeds.
the more you have loved and have allowed yourself to suffer because of love, the more you will be able to let your heart grow wider and deeper.
When your love is truly giving and receiving, those whom you love will not ever leave your heart. They become part of yourself and thus gradually build a community within you.
Those who you have deeply loved become a part of you.
And the longer you live, there will always be more people to be loved by you and to become part of your inner community.
The wider your inner community becomes, the more easily you will recognize your own brothers and sisters in the strangers around you.
The wider the community of your heart, the wider community around you.
As you love deeply, the ground of your heart will be broken more and more, but you will rejoice in an abundance of fruit that it will bear.
Peter and Vanessa, those words fit perfectly with the third season of the marriage. We talked about the past and the present. And Mark and Mary said, let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the years ahead. There is much joy in growing old together. And they are ready for the perks that now come with security. Mark, you got security. I tested that out with you because you helped me with my finances. And I'd rather be in your situation than mine, okay? So don't even begin to pretend that you don't have security. Security and grandchildren, a slower pace, and a time to enjoy all they have worked on so hard to experience. And that represented by this house, and your house back in Seattle, and all the memories that are going back and forth that you have gathered and now are prepared to share. With that in mind, Mark and Mary told me that over a third of the people here today are under 30 years of age. They want you to know that the second half of life is grand. It is filled with experiences that can't be enjoyed in the first half of life. They want you to know that aging is underrated because the second half of life is about creating more adventures and many more memories that are unique to this season. So count on it. Those of you who are under 30, there's a lot more to come. And I know Mark and Mary are counting on a lot more. And just like they were wished 40 years ago for a lot, we're wishing that again today. But Mark and Mary also know that in time, aging will bring complications. And these complications will impact their marriage. It's part of the package. Mark and Mary are committed to finishing well. They hope for many more years of flourishing and joy together. But they also know there's a beauty in caring for each other as setbacks start to add up. Setbacks that interfere with our dreams. Those of us who are in the second half of life know all too well that we have to accept some limitations. It's wrong to deny our age, to pretend that we are still young, still hip, still cool, because that is not groovy, it's stupid. It's so foolish to deny the impact of aging in our lives. And as we face aging, we have to face the greatest challenge of all. Mark and Mary don't want to deny that challenge today. The reality is that one person will say goodbye before the other. There will be intense grief. The marriage will come to an end, and you might be saying, Morris, you don't have to talk about that today, right? That's what some of you are saying. Well, I think there's a critical reason. to remind us of why we get married, knowing that it can't last forever. So why do we even do it? We are choosing to love. And if we choose to love deeply, we will grieve deeply. I'll say it again. If we choose to love deeply, we will grieve deeply. There is a way out. Never to grieve means never to love. We can refuse risking loving. Mark and Mary are simply not interested in that equation. That's not what they want to do. Compromise is not in the cards. They want you to know that they intend to love deeply because it's worth it. Never to grieve means never to love, and that is simply not part of their plan. So Mark and Mary are standing before you today, just as they stood before their friends and family 40 years ago to say again, I do. Knowing all the risks involved. They now know that the fullness of the marriage journey is both rich, but it also is costly because it involves the reality of loss. There is a sense of completeness about all this. It would not make sense if it wasn't for Christ who died and rose again and proved that everything belongs. Even the separation that death will bring. Mark and Mary told me to tell you that the journey is worth it, even though it involves pain. And so, as we prepare for the future, along with the challenges that it will bring, let's agree to this, all of us, today. No one should enter the second half of life without friends. Mark and Mary, you have a ton of friends here today. It's impressive. We are here to celebrate the wonder of your 40 years. But it would be good if all of us agreed together that we dare not move into the future without a commitment to maintain and build the friendships we see around these tables, and the friendships with Mark and Mary and their family. Today's celebration is Mark and Mary's way of saying they treasure love and friendship with you. And it is their way of telling all of us to stay connected in the years to come. Mark and Mary want you to be there. They want to be there for you, and they want you to be there for them. On this special day, we need to agree that aging requires a deeper bond with one another and with the circle of relationships that God has given to us. And so we choose to love and protect each other for as long as we all shall live. Amen. Herbert Mercury is a special friend of Mark and Mary's, and he's going to come up. And Nikki. Well, okay, come on up. Herb and Nikki are coming up, and they're going to tell you a little bit. Herb has some thoughts he wants to share.
Thank you. First of all, I want to tell you, closer? Well, I guess I'm going to have to get closer to this thing, although I've managed to avoid it most of my life. Which brings up what I wanted to say. First of all, I want to say it's an honor to be here. If over half the people I'm looking at are under 30, or in their 30s, I'd like to tell you that I'm past 85. And while I know that you have good things to say, some of it happen to be a little philosophical. So I'm going to give you some actual. If that's okay. I used to think, when I get old, I won't be able to go fishing. And that bothered me some because I managed to live in Micronesia where I could catch blue marlin, and in Alaska where you could catch lots of fish. And now, I can't even find my fishing pole. Because, you know, other interests came along. I used to worry, well, I won't be able to hike up Cutthroat Pass anymore. But you know, I don't want to. It's okay. I wasn't impressed at our last meeting when your actuarial tables kind of polished me off a little early. I said, well, Herb, you won't have to worry about that. And I thought to myself, really? I've got a few words for you after I changed my financial plan. Let me say that there is life after 80, and after 40, and 50, and 60, I think so, and 70, and 80, and God willing, 90. The best years of my life have been the last 20. I happen to share them with Nikki. And that's been a marvelous, marvelous experience. Because, you know, we've managed to create the environment within which we just are allowing the other person to discover who he or she is. We're so busy figuring out all sorts of things when you're younger. Who are you apart from a financial planner? Or Mary, apart from being a nurse, or a mom, or a grandmother, or grandfather, or whatever you are, whatever label you have, whatever tag you wear. When are you going to have time to find that out? Well, when those tags kind of recede a little, and the quiet comes, and you have a chance to find out, who is this person that God made? And I'm discovering that. Who am I apart from being an Episcopal minister? Well, don't blow my cover because I'm wearing it. And it's really quite exciting. Matter of fact, it's very exciting. Because until you get along a little, you don't have time. And so I wanted to point that out. And now you both are entering that marvelous dimension in which you have time to figure out who you are and rejoice and give thanks. My father was a sea captain. He lived to be 98, Mark, so I thought I'd toss that in. And he was never ill either. He just went to sleep one night. But he was a monarchist, and we lived on a little island in the Bay of Fundy off the American coast in eastern Canada. And on New Year's Day, the king made a speech. So we'd fire up the Stuart Warner radio, and the BBC would come on, and the king would make his speech. Incidentally, I heard the king make the speech of which the movie was made. And anyway, I remember a piece in one of the speeches about 1939. And it goes something like this. I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, give me a light that I might step safely into the unknown. And he said to me, go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. It will be to you safer than light and better than the known way. So I went out, and finding the hand of God, stepped gladly into the night. And he took me to the mountains, and to the rising of the sun in the lone east. And you know, I wanted to say that if you put your hand into the hand of God, Mark, it will look suspiciously like Mary's hand. And when you put your hand into the hand of God, it will feel suspiciously like mine. Because unless we see glimpses of the Lord in each other, where are we going to see it? And so I leave you with this. Put your hands in each other's hands, as I will in Nikki's, and we'll step gladly into the night. Thank you.
Herb and Nikki, if I have a special event, and Ruth and I do something, would you come and speak at it? Because that was so priceless. and the ending about joining hands and finding the hand of God. That's a great place for us to be right now, as Mark and Mary exchange vows again and exchange something that's a symbol, a bracelet that they've had engraved with special words for each other to renew their commitment today. Mark and Mary? Going back to the regular glasses, yeah. You're going into the night.
Try not to cry. Thank you for journeying with me these last 40 years. Thank you for believing in me when I brought little more than dreams and potential. Thank you for remaining committed to me through all of life's joys and disappointments. Thank you for loving my family and making them your family. Thank you for giving me your youth. I commit to walk with you the rest of life's journey.
When you're short, this is how it goes. Thank you for journeying for me for these past 4 years. Thank you for believing in me when I brought you more than dreams and potential. Thank you for remaining committed to me through all of life's joy and disappointments. And thank you for loving my family and making them your family. And thank you for giving me your youth. And I commit to walk with you the rest of the journey. And I commit myself to you. And to you alone. And to the vows we made on our wedding day. I vow to love you with a love that never fails. You know me so well. And it is only through Jesus Christ our Lord who lives within me that we can experience that kind of love. A love that bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. A love that is not selfish nor rude, nor demanding its own way, but looks more after your needs, with patience and kindness. A love that does not hold grudges, but forgives and forgets, and is loyal no matter what the cost. A love that extends grace when words are spoken, and forgets, and is loyal no matter what the cost. And a love that extends grace when words are spoken and is willing to persevere in talking until a real understanding is reached. I am frail, as you can see, and many times I have fallen short of this love. Thank you for forgiving me again and again and again. I recommit to being your friend, your lover, your fellow worker, the mother and grandmother Mimi of our growing family. I will walk with you all the days of our life, and I still believe God's promise. Faithful is he who has called us, and he will bring it to pass.
I recommit myself to you and to you alone, and to the vows we made on our wedding day. I vow to love you with a love that never fails. You know me so well, it's only through Jesus Christ our Lord who lives within me that we can experience this kind of love. A love that bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. A love that is not selfish and rude, nor demanding its own way, but looks more after your needs, patience, and kindness. A love that does not hold grudges, but forgives and forgets, and is loyal no matter the cost. A love that extends grace when words are spoken, and is willing to persevere in talking until the real understanding is reached. I am frail. I am frail. And many times I have fallen short of this type of love. Thank you for forgiving me again and again and again I recommit to being your friend, your lover, your fellow worker, father, and grandfather Janci of our growing family. I will walk with you all the days of your life. I still believe God's promise. Faithful is He who has called us, and He will also bring it to pass.
Mark and Mary wanted to put underneath the words they just shared with you a moment of communion with God, to share in the cup and the bread. Would you just join them in worship as they do that? As this ceremony comes to an end, I want to give you, Mark and Mary, an ancient blessing. It comes from the Old Testament scriptures. And this blessing requires you to consider the importance of one another's face. To be married, to enjoy love, we need to look at each other, for intimacy is seen in the face. The face is the place of deepest connection, vulnerability, and emotion. And God knows this, and so He has chosen to reveal His desire to be face to face in relationship with us. He wants to know and be known. So listen to these words as a blessing over you for today and the rest of the days that you share together. May the Lord bless you, keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. And now, Mr. and Mrs. Mark Janci. Oh, you guys are going to do that first. Hold on. I thought you did that after the vows. Go ahead.
We forgot.
So as a way to remember this occasion, we got each other sterling bracelets that say, "My beloved, my best friend forever, 8."
Aww.